Hi YouTube, it's time to talk about freedom of speech. It's not easy to emphasise enough the importance of the right to free speech, the importance of the right to freely express one's opinion, point of view, one's findings or disagreements. Freedom of speech is the one right upon which all others rely and follow. Free speech is the very foundation of the civilization from which we all benefit today. But are we forgetting our history? Are we forgetting the foundations of our society? Have we lost the understanding of what our basic rights are and from where they came? It appears to me that the awareness of the importance of free speech has been eroded and is disappearing all the time, and what follows from restricted speech, absent speech, bad speech, is bad ideas and bad decisions. I could give a couple of examples of where this is most damaging. The discourse surrounding climate change is one, and that surrounding the so-called migration crisis that has been building over recent years is another, and that's the one I'm going to focus on here. In respect of the European migration crisis, the assault on freedom of speech has led to bad decision after bad decision, day after day, by our inability to understand the importance of free speech and open discourse. Bad speech leads to bad ideas, and bad ideas leads to bad political decisions. Our politics has gone so badly wrong in recent years, and this is largely down to the assault on freedom of expression, and there is no sign that I've picked up on that it's getting any better. If we cast our minds back to a couple of years ago, when at the direction and encouragement of Germany's Chancellor Merkel, Europe was beginning to see significant numbers of undocumented migrants entering its territories, and our news broadcast media welcomed the phenomenon and expressed the humanitarian qualities of themselves and the EU's political leaders in glowing terms. Little alternative viewpoint was allowed. Nigel Farage, one alternative voice, was castigated as racist, xenophobe, insensitive, nasty, and other well-used descriptive terms designed to sully his character and his point of view. More importantly, the political decisions were made without asking the people of Europe. No political parties ran on a platform of, "We will allow countries to be invaded by unvetted and undocumented migrants, predominantly young and male from Muslim countries with different social norms. Vote for me." No. These policies, permanent socially disruptive policies, policies that would and will cost the average European taxpayer significant amounts of money, were decided upon and implemented by diktat. Policies that will reverberate for decades and change the face of Europe forever. And the people were not asked. But had they been asked, what might they have expressed? For the conversation about the migration of millions of people into Europe should have been had before such a phenomenon was unleashed upon Europe. A Europe with many uncontrolled borders, free movement of people, free movement of goods, and a Schengen zone rendering the constraint or containment of illegal immigrants practically impossible. In Britain, we are not in the Schengen zone. We are an island with the natural advantages that being surrounded by water provides. But we still have not had the conversation about the future of the United Kingdom, of Europe, of how it came to be shaped through the Enlightenment and the Industrial Revolution, of wars fought and freedoms preserved, of the fragility of civil society, of how it is hard-won through generations, through cultivating accepted cultural norms. We haven't had the conversation yet, and we need to. Changes are being made to our country that provide little for the English to embrace with enthusiasm. The problem starts with our freedom of speech and the destruction of civil, courteous discourse and the loss of respect for critical thinking. In October 2010, some 8 years ago now, Chancellor Merkel gave a speech about multiculturalism. I remember that speech, and it's worthwhile reminding ourselves of its content. as the BBC reported at the time, and I quote from their article here. Attempts to build a multicultural society in Germany have utterly failed, Chancellor Angela Merkel says. She said the so-called multiculti concept, where people would live side by side happily, did not work, and immigrants needed to do more to integrate, including learning German. The comments come amid a rising anti-immigration feeling in Germany. A recent survey suggested that 30% of people believed the country was overrun by foreigners. The study by the Friedrich Ebert Foundation think tank also showed that roughly the same number thought that some 16 million of Germany's immigrants or people with foreign origins had come to the country for its social benefits. Mrs. Merkel told a gathering of young members of her conservative Christian Democratic Union Party on Saturday that at the beginning of the 60s our country called the foreign workers to come to Germany, and now they live in our country. She said, "We kidded ourselves a while. We said they won't stay. Sometime they will be gone. But this isn't reality." And of course, the approach to build a multicultural society and to live side by side and to enjoy each other has failed, utterly failed. In her speech in Potsdam, however, the Chancellor made clear that immigrants were welcome in Germany. She specifically referred to recent comments by German President Christian Wolff, who said that Islam was part of Germany, like Christianity and Judaism. Mrs. Merkel said, "We should not be a country either which gives the impression to the outside world that those who don't speak German immediately, or who were not raised speaking German, are not welcome here." This was pretty clear stuff from Angela Merkel. It was an acknowledgement that in reality people of different cultures do not integrate, based on review of the recent history of Germany and the reality that people who have immigrated to Germany retain strong tribal culture and familial ties, but do not assimilate into wider German society or become German. These facts, coupled with knowledge of the political aspects of Islam, should have rang loud alarm bells to any leadership with intelligence. Should demographic changes further increase, the disparate nature of expanding alternative tribal culture in Germany, pressures would mount on the very foundation of the laws under which Germans live. But the speech has been stifled, the ideas haven't been thrashed out, and the politics have gone badly wrong. 5 years after admitting that multiculturalism had utterly failed, Merkel encouraged the mass migration, as did the EU institutions, as did the mainstream media, and as did every virtue signalling vote chaser in Britain: the SNP, the Labour Party, the Green Party, Plaid Cymru, the Conservative Party, the Lib Dems, all of them. Who could be seen to be the most righteous, the kindest, the most compassionate for these poor children pictured in heart-wrenching photographs from a faraway land? Many in Europe were furious, but these voices were not heard. And when they were, we were told they were right-wing, extremists, populists. Why? Why is it anything to do with left or right wing? And millions have come, and the symptoms are starting to show. In Britain we have had our own history of immigration, but the rates of immigration have exploded since the signing of the Lisbon Treaty. The symptoms that we see today, the capacity in our NHS, housing shortages, wage compression, pressures on transport infrastructure, can all be laid at the door of ill-thought-through policies implemented by the Labour Party and the Conservative Party over the preceding 45 years or more, especially the actions of the Blair-Brown government 1997 to 2010. Just over 3 years ago in September, or just under 3 years ago in September 2015, Angela Merkel was sat next to one Mark Zuckerberg of Facebook fame. Part of their conversation back in 2015 was caught on tape. Reports of the meeting did appear in the news broadcast media. How can we censor negative posting about migration policy, refugees and migrants on Facebook? Asked Merkel. How can we censor negative postings about migration policy, refugees and migrants on Facebook? Asked Merkel. We're working on it, Zuckerberg, and boy, are we seeing the results of Zuckerberg's work. He was recorded making that response. As for Twitter and its policy of silencing commentators and opinion formers whose politics was contrary to that of Obama and Merkel, this is also well documented, especially so in the run-up to the US presidential election, which saw a collapse in the reputation of media outlets and the exposure of financial and political links between those in power and those controlling media output. This says it all to me about the mirage that our freedom has become. How we are essentially enslaved and psychologically manipulated to consent to that which harms our family's present and our country's future. The politicians have made decisions about the future human constituency of Europe, and that is to import large numbers of non-Europeans, predominantly young and male, to integrate into the workforce of Europe. These same politicians do not want the policy to be questioned or discussed, other than in positive terms. When I was young, we had words for these kind of actions taken arbitrarily by a political leader. Dictatorial, fascist, authoritarian. However, these are not the words applied by our media. But then again, what are we to expect of our media? If we assume the media to be an idealistic searcher and reporter of truth and reason, Merkel's actions would have been openly criticised and called out for what they were a long time ago. Socially destructive and insane actions of either a sociopathic self-hater or a psychopathic altruist. Either way, they could have been outed as at least unpredictable and dangerous, and a result of a naive ignorance of history, religion and culture. But our speech has been silenced, so our ideas have gone rotten and our politics have become corrupted. And so naive, destructive policies not only see the light of day, they have been implemented, they have been normalised. So, why have I joined the Democrats and Veterans Party? Well, it's because the speech has gone wrong and the ideas are dangerous and the politics are disastrous, and I can't watch from the sidelines and do nothing anymore. We are governed by a class of people and two main parties who do not put the needs of the people of the UK first, nor undertake their primary function of keeping Britain safe and controlling our borders. If you'd like to learn more, please tune in and listen to the output from the Democrats and Veterans Party. We're a direct democracy party, and it is our mission to bring politics back to the people, engaging people in the politics and letting the people decide the future of our nation, not the corrupted political elites. If you like this video, please like and share and encourage your friends to consume the content. Thank you for listening.